Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs podcast, we're talking 40-man roster moves. We've got Adbert out. We've got a prospect moving in. Craig Counsell leaves, and the Brewers beat us again. But, hey, our Pat is a Hall of Famer. The CHGO podcast awakens your soul. Next. Hey, Chicago. What do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs podcast. It is Wednesday. It is November 20th. Wow, we're moving along here. Have we had a hard freeze yet? No.
Here there might
growing
be
season.
flurries tomorrow.
Oh, how about that?
That's not good for the bike ride in.
Luke Stuckmeyer, Ryan Herrera, Cody Delmendo, and Law on the Draw. Running the ones and twos. I love that our live YouTube chat is up and running before we can even get the show going, and that before we can start the show, Shane jumps in with a fire Jed comment. Before we can even get started.
We're here. Here we are.
Gary has rock and roll and fire Jed. I must be saying let's rock and roll to my son because he said it to me the other day. Let's rock and roll. And I was like, what? What do you know about rock and roll? You're 3.
Did you say Gary's your son?
No.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
He could be, probably. Almost young enough.
Yeah, when we've met Gary. I think
son of
Gary's in his
CHGO.
30s. You're 50. Yeah,
That's
could
right.
happen.
Could be my kid.
Could be your
The
kid.
son of CHGO.
That's right.
New nickname?
There's the Godfather.
Oh, gosh.
There's the Godmother. Now
Godson.
there's the son.
There's the godson.
Son.
Who's the mom and dad?
Figure that out.
So we got lots to talk about. We're talking about the 40-man moves, right? We're talking about Pat Murphy winning Manager of the Year. What that means? Does it mean anything?
No.
Shane Newbank says, "Dad?" ? By the way, if you're listening to this in podcast form, we appreciate you. We would, appreciate the kind reviews and the thumbs up. But now, of course, you can see us on Roku and Samsung and who am I missing?
Xfinity.
Xfinity.
Xfinity, it's just
4074
it's
in
interesting.
Chicago.
It's interesting that we're on Xfinity. That's
We are on Xfinity.
No reason.
But if you haven't joined the live YouTube chat, it's the best way to enjoy and be part of the experience. All right, 40-man moves. Ryan told us it was coming up yesterday, and we debated what some of them might be. Gary says he's 38. Stucky can't be my dad. Not true.
Yeah, technically no.
Is anybody upset or surprised by the moves? If you're talking about Cubs names, they're 4 pretty big names. It wasn't like they. I guess the surprising part for most Cubs fans, just casually looking at it, is why not Madrigal? Right? Let's be honest. If you're taking somebody off the 40-man and DFA'ing him, former number 1 prospect, we know Brennan Davis has had just horrible luck, a slew of injuries for the last 2 years. He's had some glimpses and we've had some peaks at like greatness that he might be able to show you. That's why he was a top 100 prospect, a top 30 prospect maybe?
Top 20.
At one time in Major League Baseball.
15?
They got as high as 15,
I think
yeah.
so.
I mean,
On
people were
Pipeline,
calling
at least.
him a can't miss, right? He was the future when we started this network.
Yeah.
And injuries have been a huge problem. Adbert obviously had a bad season and now Tommy John surgery, so he won't be pitching next year. It's not shocking, right?
I mentioned his name yesterday when we were talking about potential names. For me, the Davis thing, it's like we repeat it every single time. It's just a really unfortunate situation. It's not surprising to me that he's the one who got DFA'd. Because he's currently hurt right now too, right? Like, isn't he hurt? I know he got hurt.
Brennan Davis got hurt at the end of the season.
In September, had fractured his left ankle on a slide.
Yeah, so it's
the
just
second
like,
base.
Yeah, so
I haven't got an update on him, but
right, but it's just more fire to the fuel of like this move. I would love for the Cubs to bring him back on a minor league deal and, see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if he changes organizations.
Yeah, if another team gives him a chance.
Especially since the Cubs have so many outfield prospects on top of their already full outfield. So I wouldn't be surprised if he left. But Adbert is a guy that, based off how he perceives himself on social media, with how much he loves the Cubs and Wrigley Field and the fans and all that, and he's going to be rehabbing all of next year, I feel like that's a guy that you could easily bring back on a minor league deal to let him rehab with you at your complex in Arizona and go through all of the stuff you got to go through after Tommy John, and then, see where you're at from there. I mean, they did it with Drew Smiley 5 years ago. Why not do it with a guy that actually likes your organization? Just saying.
You don't think Drew Smiley likes the organization?
I mean, he didn't come up through the organization. He came to the Cubs and took $10 million to rehab with us.
Adbert is
like
Wilson
a pretty good
Contreras,
reason,
right? Adbert's like Wilson Contreras. Was part of the organization his entire life. Doesn't know anything. Different.
I think Adbert was, as far as organization-wise, the longest tenured Cub. Like, obviously, Happ is the longest tenured as far as, like, being on the big league roster now.
Outside of Hendricks before he signed with the Angels.
But I'm saying, like, until yesterday, like, because Hendricks is a free agent now. David Bodie, I believe, is a free agent. Like, I think Adbert is now, or was up until yesterday, the longest tenured Cub as far as being in the organization. He was obviously a Cubs top prospect for a while. Debuted in 2019. He's been a part of the organization for 12 years. He was on the big league roster, at least as far as, like, he had made his debut June 2019, I believe. And, injuries have taken their toll on him as well. We talk about Brennan Davis and his injuries, but Adbert's dealt with his own share of injuries at the big league level. 2023 emerged as a closer and did really well. Converted 22 of 25 save opportunities. And he got hurt towards the end of the year. I think it was a right forearm strain, cost him a chunk of September. Came back, and I don't know that we ever figured that out. I don't remember if we ever figured out for sure, but he may have just still been dealing with things even to start the year.
That's just a suspicion we've thrown out there, right?
Yeah,
like, there's nothing to tell us that. It's just that he was really good. Like you said, 22 out of 23, whatever the number was, and then all of a sudden he wasn't, and they're like, "Oh, he's hurt," and we never really saw him pitch well again.
Well, yeah, I mean, he struggled in that role. I mean, he got demoted out of that role after, was it the Marlins game towards the end of April that he blew another save, and then was like basically like, I know he had another couple opportunities after that, but he was not considered the closer anymore after that one. And then was it May 11th or 12th or something like that is when he pitched his last game. He goes through, I think it was at the time called the right forearm strain again, when that was the official announcement. Tries to rehab, goes through it. I think he got all the way up to, like, even having an appearance at AAA, a rehab appearance, but then got shut back down and obviously opted for Tommy John surgery in August. Like, it's disappointing, obviously, to see just the way that Adbert's, even just the last couple of years, even just this year, went for him, considering how highly touted he was when he was coming up as a pitcher, converted to a reliever and had success there, and then gets hurt and is going to miss most, if not all, of 2025. So while the move itself doesn't surprise me, like, sure, you could have kept him on the 40-man roster and kept him in through next season. It would have honestly been a waste of a 40-man spot. Not that Adbert is a waste, but that's a valuable spot to use on someone who may not pitch for you again next season. So I expected this move to happen, whether it was yesterday or at the non-tender deadline on Friday. I do see the Cubs trying to bring him back on a minor league deal. They can overpay a little bit. It doesn't have to be a minimum contract that minor leaguers get or whatever. Like, they can pay him closer to what he could have earned as a big leaguer. And then, I think from Adbert's side, it's like, well, this is the organization you spent your life with, as you said. You like the organization, the training staff, all the people in the organization. There may not be a better place for you to do your rehab than the team that knows everything about you since you turned, whatever it was, 16.
Yeah, and unless maybe both guys have had so many injuries that they're like, I want a different set of doctors. I want new scenery. I want a fresh start. Like, I think that's possible too. Justin said Patrick Wisdom and Madrigal can go for some grilled chicken nachos and a Coke for all I care.
Brother.
Or you can just DFA him. LOL.
I'd take that.
Here's my question, Ryan. Like, for either of you guys, like,
wait, hold on. You'd take the grilled chicken nachos, or you'd take
grilled chicken nachos? Sound delicious right now,
brother. You sign me up for some grilled chicken.
Where
nachos.
Chili's?
At El Rancho.
Speaking
Columbia,
of Chili's,
Missouri.
confirmed going to Chili's this weekend.
Nice.
It's already on. Now, see, I don't know too many people that plan Chili's into their.
It doesn't seem like a plan.
Yeah, like a week out, or like, you know what, I'm going to Chili's next week. Cody just did it. He might be the first person. It's usually like, where are we going? Well, there's a Chili's right there. Why not?
Chili's is in right now. It's a big trend on the talk.
Because we talk about it on the podcast. It's
absolutely. Anyway, didn't mean to steer us off.
Both guys, both Adbert and Brennan Davis, at one time, each guy was the number one prospect in the Cubs organization, right? At some point in their career. If one of them had to somehow stick around in the Cubs, give him a kind of a hefty minor league deal, because they hope that guy will be a part of their future somehow in 2 years, which guy is it? Which guy would you prefer having? Because I don't think there's any question they're two of the biggest what ifs, right?
For the Cubs in like recent
in recent Cubs history, they're two of the biggest what ifs. What if Alzolay never got hurt and he stayed as that top prospect? Did he have the stuff? I don't know, but like there was a stretch where he was a nice closer, and we were all about the fist pump after the games, and we were all in on it. It wasn't too long ago. We're sitting at Cubs convention. We're like, "What do you think?" And he's like, "I want to be the closer." We bought in. He became the closer. He was good, and then it all fell apart. Brennan Davis. I mean, we've been waiting to see him for 3 years.
Yeah, he's like Loch Ness.
Because it was like, oh man, this guy might be the first great 5-tool outfielder we've had in a long time. So which guy, if you're the Cubs or a Cubs fan, would you rather see? My guess is maybe the Cubs said to both, like, you're always welcome back here. We put you on a minor league deal, or you can go explore whatever's best for you.
I'll make a poll in the YouTube chat.
Yeah, which would you rather see, Cody, slip through and come back?
Like I said, they just have a lot of outfielders, so I don't think that Brennan Davis wants to come back. I think Brennan Davis has the higher ceiling as an overall player. If he could actually stay healthy, I think he could be more impactful for whatever organization that he goes to if given the opportunity. Alzolay, like a lot of people in the chat, we talk about polarizing players, talk about Dansby being one of the more polarizing players on the team. Obviously last year, like Alzolay, and it wasn't all his fault, like the way, however, the Cubs managed his injury that we all think that he basically had on top of missing the entire season almost, right? Injuries, I can't blame a guy for that. But he did blow some saves, and he cost the Cubs some games, right? And that's one of the reasons they didn't make the playoffs. So I felt like he kind of became polarizing in the fact that a lot of fans didn't believe that he could be the closer. And I think all three of us sat here and thought, if you're in it at the deadline, you go add a guy and Alzolay can be your second choice or whatever. Because we all thought that they could get to the deadline with Alzolay as the guy based off what we saw in 23. But that clearly was not the case. And unfortunately, that is one of the few things we've been wrong about. But as far as who would I would like to come back? I mean, I wouldn't blame Alzolay if he left either, but at the same time, like I just think there's more of an opportunity for him than Brennan Davis.
All right, we're going to talk about how Pat Murphy and the Brewers just beat the Cubs again coming up in 2 minutes. But first, the Black Friday sales event is going on all month long at Ray Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. That means you can score huge Black Friday savings on your next vehicle the entire month of November. But don't let these deals pass you up. Stop in today to browse their huge inventory of new vehicles. Right now, shop savings like 0% financing that's available on all new 2024 models, or shop over 125 vehicles that they have priced under $20,000. You don't hear that when you're talking cars. Let the amazing team at Ray CDJR help you during each step of your car shopping journey. With Ray's Price Promise, the numbers you're hearing right now on the CHGO Cubs podcast are the same prices you can expect to shop in-store and online. That's because Ray's Price Promise means no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees. Since they prioritize affordability for their customers, hurry into Ray CDJR today and shop one of the Chicago area's largest inventories. Then drive home with more money in your pockets than you'd expect. So if you're in the market right now for a new vehicle, then you have to check out the team at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, because they are the only team we recommend. Visit them today on Route 12 in Fox Lake. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com, serving the community since 1963.
I got good news for you, Luke. We're sponsored by Chicago Sports Network, the new home of the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox games. CHSN will broadcast more than 300 live games per year across the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox, and will feature a full lineup of original Chicago-focused sports content. They're also Chicago-based, Chicago-built, and Chicago to the core, and they're bringing it to every corner of Chicago across our 77 neighborhoods and beyond. At CHSN, Chicago comes first. Visit chsn.com for more info on how to watch Bulls, Hawks, and Sox games all season long.
Oh, yeah, and they got their new app right now that's
good.
Very good. The new app, can do it.
Yeah.
I think it's $30. You get all three teams, something like
Great
that.
app. Love
Direct
Best app.
to consumer, as they say.
Direct to consumer, yeah. Gentlemen, I don't know if we're done with this conversation.
Well, we could continue a little bit.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, did you answer who you'd rather have?
Oh, yeah.
Let's start
know.
there.
No, Ryan,
Go
who
there.
would you
Yeah,
rather
sure.
have slip through the cracks?
If I'm the Cubs, I would probably go with Adbert Alzolay. He's proven it at the major league level. I get Tommy John surgery is Tommy John surgery, and but you see plenty of guys come back from it now. He's proven at the big league level that he has what it takes to be at least a good reliever. He may not be a closer, probably will never be a starter again, but at least I have confidence that he could still be a good reliever at the big league level for the Cubs. With Brennan Davis, I made this point when I wrote it up yesterday. Like, you look at the opening day lineup, and you have Ian Happ, Crow-Armstrong, Cody Bellinger, Seiya Suzuki. Like, those are your four outfielders. Maybe Mike Tauchman sticks around as well. So you have
now Owen Caissie's
bunch of
been added.
outfielders. We haven't even talked about Owen Caissie, but Owen Caissie has now been added to the 40-man roster. You already have Kevin Alcantara on the 40-man roster. You have a lot of outfielders, a lot of outfielders already at the major league level, plus outfield depth. And while I think, like, Brennan Davis, we saw the potential when he's healthy. We saw what he can do when he's healthy. It was a back surgery in 2022, core muscle surgery in 2023, a back fracture and a broken left ankle in 2024, a fractured left ankle. I don't know if there's a difference, but fractured left ankle. The health has just not been there for him the last 3 years. Now, like, the Cubs, see, he does have another option year next year, so they could have kept him on the 40-man, optioned him again, see if he could stay healthy and used him as depth. But they have so much outfield depth already, whether that's at the major league level or in the minor leagues. A lot of good young outfielders that are coming up. Like, you've seen Crow-Armstrong, Owen Caissie, and Kevin Alcantara already pass up Brennan Davis as far as prospect rankings in the Cubs system. There's just not a very clear path to playing time for Brennan Davis unless a slew of injuries hit the outfielders. And I get we're not even talking about 2025 specifically because Adbert Alzolay is probably not going to pitch in there. But I think if you can keep him in the minor league, if you can keep him in the organization on a minor league deal, the rehab goes well, he's ready to pitch again in 2026, at least you have some base of this guy has done this at the major league level. We're confident he can pitch somewhere around that level and have success. You don't know what you got with Brennan Davis because he's never played at the major league level.
Is Canario still in the organization?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's still there as well.
That's another name.
It's another name, right?
Somebody just mentioned him in the chat. I'm like, wow, we haven't said his name in a long time.
So there's just such a big logjam at outfield and just not any clear path toward Brennan Davis playing time. And that's, again, a question of if he can even stay healthy enough to earn that shot. I think if I'm the Cubs, and I'm like you said earlier, the Cubs would probably like to have both back in the organization on a minor league deal. But if they had to go with one, if I'm the Cubs, like I'd probably go with Alzolay and hope he can get back to a guy that's at least proven it at the major league level, at least as a reliever.
I would agree that pitching depth, especially in the bullpen of guys that you've seen before at the major league level, is probably more valuable to the team than outfield depth. The hard part to swallow as a fan of just baseball is one guy had a ceiling that was so high and we never got to see it at the major league level. That's hard. I wish him nothing but the best. If he's gone, I hope he gets healthy and helps a team that we don't care about.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, he has another option year, so another team could opt to give him a major league deal to entice him to leave the Cubs organization, and again could option him and see if he can get healthy.
Right.
Again, next if he can stay healthy and earn that shot. So there's also probably a good chance that he's gone, but it's not a guarantee. So we'll see how that plays out the rest of the offseason.
It's been a full year since Craig Counsell joined the Cubs for $40 million, right? We thought that was going to be, some people in the chat said, worth 8 games. Then we said, come on, be realistic. It's maybe 3. Oh, no, it's at least 5. Okay, so we settled maybe on 5. Turns out it was the same record. Pat Murphy slides over and takes his job at the Brewers, and they beat the Cubs by 10 games in the division. Now Pat Murphy wins National League Manager of the Year. If the Brewers hadn't kicked you in the crotch enough this year, first they go and beat the Cubs by 10 games. Then they almost kill half of our staff with their escalators. Right?
Yeah.
And now their manager, who slides over for the guy we took for $40 million and is doing it for way less money, is the National League Manager of the Year. Do you care at all?
Is it really surprising them?
No, I mean, he deserves it.
Yeah.
He deserves it. They look at the guys that left the team. They didn't have Corbin Burns.
They didn't have Woodruff.
They didn't have Burns. They didn't have Woodruff.
Yelich missed
a lot of time.
Devin Williams missed a lot of time.
He obviously deserved it. They ran away with the division.
Yeah, I mean, Pat Murphy.
They're still winning.
I didn't, like, at the end of the year, looking around at the potential options, and, like, obviously other guys around the National League had cases for it, but Pat Murphy taking over, and I get he also got to keep a lot of the same coaching staff, so there was some continuity there, but you did lose, obviously, Craig Counsell, who's considered one of the best managers in baseball, or just most respected managers in baseball. You lose 2 aces, either to trade or to being injured. You know, Yelich, again, like I said, Yelich has missed half a season at the end of the year, and Devin, you didn't have your closer for a while, and we went into the year saying, like, oh, you know, they're gonna take a step back. The Brewers are gonna take a step back this year with all this change. And they actually won one more game, I think, this year than they did in 2023.
They did all that and increased their win total. Cubs stayed the same.
Yeah,
but
I look at,
I know what you're saying.
So Pat Murphy deserves, he deserved this award for sure. I thought as soon as the season ended, I looked at the landscape of the National League and said, yeah, Pat Murphy's probably going to win the Manager of the Year because he did a really good job keeping that team on course. And like you said, Luke, kicking the Cubs' butt again by 10 games. Like, he did a really good job of doing that and absolutely deserved the award. And it is interesting that Craig Counsell finished second like 4 times or something in voting, and then Pat Murphy gets it in his first year as a Major League Manager. Oh, I don't like that laugh.
Uh-oh. This is like, that was Cody's Joker laugh right there.
This award is about as dumb as the Baseball Hall of Fame these days, man. Like, everything that you guys just said, it's like, oh, we're once again giving the manager more credit because the team won. But we're just going to discount all of the guys who no one knew about that
I don't think that's true.
No, it's true.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
no one thought Trevor McGill and Brian Hudson were going to be back in arms for them that were going to be awesome.
Who? Yeah,
exactly. Who? I guess Jackson Chourio. Sure, we thought he could be a guy, but he sucked for 3 months. He was going through the adjustment period of becoming a major league player, and then he had an OPS over 1,000 the last 3 months of the year. That was a big part. He kind of took place of Christian Yelich when he got hurt. Bryce Terang, Gold Glove this year, right? Willy Adames had his best season, right?
They almost own the Cubs like the Packers own the Bears right now.
Listen, he deserves the award, absolutely. They give the award to the guy that, either has the best team or in this case, like they outperformed what anyone thought. That's why you win the award. You know how many times Craig Counsell was a finalist for this award?
Like I said, 4 times.
Yeah.
4 or 5.
Like I just think this award's dumb.
Bridesmaid.
Yep, Joe Madden won the award, and the next year, Cubs fans were calling for his name to be fired, or within 2 years, people were calling for him to be fired. So it's just like whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that we're giving him credit for the team doing as well. Like the players, obviously, and I've said it. Like the manager often gets too much credit and not enough credit and too much blame. Like the players have the biggest part in what happens on the field. But I thought Pat Murphy, and this is looking at it from an outsider and just kind of reading stuff from Brewers writers, just hearing things about what Pat Murphy does. Like a lot of the manager's job is behind the scenes stuff. Like obviously the in-game stuff matters too, and making in-game moves and doing that kind of stuff, which I think he did a pretty good job with as well. But a lot of the stuff that managers are responsible for happens behind the scenes.
Sure.
And so I think I'm giving Pat Murphy credit for maintaining a winning culture at Milwaukee and not letting it fall off the rails. Again, like the projection said, like a lot of outsiders said, like this is going to be a year the Brewers step back. The players obviously had a lot to do with that, but Pat Murphy as the manager, helped keep that on track. And that's all I'm trying to say is I get your point. And the manager of the year award's a little dumb just because it's like the players obviously have the large majority or the large, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, the biggest impact on what happens on the field. Yeah. But I do think what the manager does behind the scenes matters. And Pat Murphy did a good job of keeping things together behind the scenes.
Joe Madden won it in 15. The Cubs weren't expected to do shit that year, and they won 97 games. He wins manager of the year. So, it's the same. To me, it's the same situation. And I said 2 years. It was more like 4 years, but whatever.
Curious if they'll change Craig Counsell Park into Pat Murphy Park now. Where's that, Whitefish Bay or something like that? Where they defaced his when he came to the Cubs, they defaced his sign.
All I know is that if he does it again next year, if they're good again next year, because they're not going to pay Adames.
Right. It's going to be gone. And I was just going to say, Devin Williams sounds like he might be on the way out, right? Like
you decline an option just so he makes a couple million less, yeah.
I mean, it looks like he's gone. It looks like Adames is gone. It's one of your best, if not your best, position player.
They'll get Woodruff back, and listen, they have some young guys that I like Tobias Myers is an arm that scares me. And again, they always just take random dudes off the street and make them good in their bullpen. I mean, the 2 guys I mentioned were in the Cubs organization, and they were good. And they Chourio is going to be a thorn in our backs for years to come. He really is, and that sucks. And Yelich will be back next year. He's getting older, but he's still a threat. They're still set up to be competitive again next year. And so my point I'm getting here with this, when it comes to Pat Murphy winning manager of the year, if he wins it again next year somehow, some way, because next year they'll have some expectations, unlike this year, then some stuff really drastically went wrong with the Cubs.
Could be. I mean, that kind of felt that way this year, didn't it?
Or if he's a finalist at least. Yeah. If he's a finalist at least again next year, then some really bad stuff happened here. Because the Cubs will be entering next year probably with I guess the same type of expectations as last year, obviously, but I think Craig Counsell will get a lot more credit next year if the Cubs make the playoffs, in which that would put him into a position to be a finalist for this award, because this is how it works. the teams that didn't make the playoffs before, that manager is always given a lot of credit, and they get put into that position. So that's the point I'm saying. Like if Pat Murphy is a finalist again, a lot of bad happened here.
Coming up on the CHGO Cubs podcast, don't worry, Milwaukee. Our Pat is better than your Pat. But first, with Empire Today, you get to shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they have copycats, but Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, speed. So competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anybody who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. Empire's philosophy is to help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with 1,000 of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in it. Their virtual floor designer is a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how those new floors are going to look in your room. Shopping for floors at the big box store, oh, that can be frustrating. You might talk to somebody that was working yesterday in plumbing. Flooring is all that Empire Today does. They live and breathe flooring. And if an issue does arise, just call Empire. They service all their warranties themselves. You won't have to track down that manufacturer's phone number. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when you use the promo code CHGO. Again, CHGO. Get you $350 off. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/CHGO for details.
Well, nothing goes together with floors like Blue Chew, Luke. They say first impressions are important, but what about lasting impressions? That's where Blue Chew comes in. Blue Chew helps boost your confidence in the bedroom so you can stay hard and perform at your very best. It's an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and others, but at a fraction of a cost in a chewable form. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com. Consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door. The best part, Luke, it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. I know how impatient you get, Luke. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. With Blue Chew, men everywhere are excited to see the postman because when your package has arrived, your package has arrived. They say there's nothing sexier than confidence, and Blue Chew can help give you confidence where it counts, Ryan. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code ALLCITY at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code ALLCITY to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. That was a hell of a read.
Okay, we're talking Cubs baseball. We mentioned Pat Murphy of the Brewers is the National League Manager of the Year. We talked about the 40-man moves yesterday as they get ready to be set up for the Rule 5 draft. We didn't talk about Owen Caissie.
I was going to say, we kind of skipped over that, and I think some people probably want us to talk about that.
Also, Law had a question before the last segment, and you just rudely skipped over it.
That was nice. That was not nice of you.
You asked a question?
He was wanting to.
I couldn't tell you were trying to ask a question. You were stuffing your face with a pastry over there that you didn't bring for anybody else. I look over. He's got powdered sugar all over his face like a dog that dove into a flour bin.
That was an almond croissant from La Colombe. Oof. Those things are
very
expensive.
No free
Was
ads,
yours
though.
good? Did you guys? Was it good?
I didn't get one.
Oh, I didn't get one either.
If I bought those for each of you, I would be out. I would be on the street. I wouldn't have any money for rent or my mortgage, whatever. Anyways, my question.
This economy?
Yeah, my question was about Adbert Alzolay. Now that he's DFA'd, does he still get money from the how's insurance work? I know this is a weird question, but if he's rehabbing, right? How does that all? Don't they technically kind of owe him the? He was hurt under their watch, right? I mean,
that's a good question. I'm not 100% sure how that.
I don't know. Cobra, is that what you're saying?
I am wondering that. I'm just worried about.
I don't know how any of
it
it
works.
Who pays for
a workman's comp type thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good question.
Hurt on the job. It's got to be different for an athlete.
I assume MLBPA has some sort of restrictions.
It's got to be. I mean,
didn't they announce that he was having Tommy John back in August?
Yeah.
So he might have got the surgery under the Cubs, and now he's just
well, he got a surgery while he's still in the Cubs organization.
Sure,
Right.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know exactly how that works.
The surgery's over. It's like, what else? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Does Braggs get workman comp for an escalator collapsing while we're on event at Milwaukee? I don't know. I don't know how that works.
We can't.
I guess we could actually just ask him.
We can't afford that. He's too soft.
Lawsuits work better in that case, usually.
Absolutely.
Allegedly. Not that I know anything about anything.
There you go. You're welcome.
Just curious. Thank
no,
you.
No real answer for your question.
No, but yeah,
not 100% sure.
William Workman says
He
in
says
the
a lot
live
of
YouTube
things.
chat, these folks in the chat are nuts. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
The,
And you
not
thought
only
that
the
I'm
people
the
in the chat,
craziest
the
one
people
here.
on the set are also crazy. It's just a big bag of crazy around here.
Mhm.
Well, what do you think about Caissie? So, I mean, we knew he was getting added. The only way he wasn't getting added is if he was traded yesterday.
Yeah.
You're not going to let the guy with the most power in the organization and a top 100 prospect be open to some other team, because teams like the White Sox would add him to their major league roster tomorrow.
He would have gotten taken in the Rule 5 draft
instantly.
first. Easy. It was a super obvious pick. I mean, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but some of the highest exit velocities like in the org, in baseball type stuff is what you hear. He's always been pretty young at every level he goes up. But
is he 22?
He's 22 right now, I believe. He's always been pretty young at every level, but he spent the whole last year in AAA. If he's not already ready for the big leagues, he's right there. He hits a lot of home runs. I mean, I looked at his walk rate dropped a little bit from his AA season in 2023 to AAA in 2024, but so did his strikeout rate slightly, like 3%, something like that. So you see him continuing to improve, continuing to develop, continuing to get better at every level. Defensively, I think obviously the projections is corner outfield, probably not a Gold Glover, but can be feasible or serviceable out there. So he's a good player, and as a reason, I think Pipeline's most recent update had him at number 34
in all of
baseball. Number 2 in the Cubs system, number 34 in all of baseball. There's a reason he's such a highly touted prospect, and I think kind of stemming off of what I talked about with Brennan Davis, there doesn't look like a path to everyday playing time on opening day for him because of the 4 outfielders that are already probably going to be in the opening day lineup. Mike Talk may also still be around. However you want to do that. Doesn't look to be everyday playing time on the opening day roster, but now by adding him to the 40-man, we don't have to go through this whole thing over the summer again of can they just add Owen Caissie to the 40-man, whatever. He's there, and he is one call away from, if an injury happens or a trade, whatever happens, he's one call away from the big leagues, and that's an important step to getting him right there, ready to make his major league debut. I think obviously if he's not starting the year on the opening day roster, he's got to go down in AAA and keep performing, which I expect that. I mean, I think he's had a full year there too. He looks about as close to major league ready as you can get. He's got to go down and keep performing if that's where he starts the season, but he's one call away. He's one call away now that he's on the 40-man from getting brought up if the need arises, and that's a credit to him for being as young as he is and moving through the system the way he has. But it's good to see now. We've talked about when are the prospects coming? When are the prospects coming? Another one is right here and basically ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with anything you said. I just pose a question of what are you doing now? Happ and Seiya, both no trade clauses. Obviously, you're going to start PCA in center field, rightfully so, on opening day, unless an injury or something happens. And you have Bellinger in right field. Seiya is your DH, but can play some right field. I know Luke would just rather not see him play right field, but he can do it.
Yeah, occasionally, sure. Not at Wrigley Field because it's one of the tougher right fields. So if he's going to do it on the road.
So, with Alcantara and Caissie now on the 40-man together, we sit here and it's almost like we turn it into a negative because you have too many outfielders. But it also can be looked at as a positive is that you have really good depth at the outfield position. It's not me being biased saying that it's good depth. legitimately, that's really good outfield depth to have 2 top 100 prospects as options if guys get hurt, this or that.
Yeah, and like right now, they're like your 5th and 6th or 6th and 7th outfielder.
Yeah. So at the same time, though, I don't blame fans for wanting to see some, but I'm not here for trading certain guys just to give certain guys the playing time. It's kind of like the conversation we've had about Matt Shaw. I mean, we talked about Matt Shaw and trading Nico Horner, but it's like, are you sure that Matt Shaw will be a full WAR player next year?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Not in year 1. If he is, like, the Cubs were incredibly smart and it worked out, right? And you're probably talking about rookie of the year, and great. But going into a year where front office has a lot of pressure to win, and like development is not necessarily, like, no one cares about developmental stories anymore. Like at this point, like you just don't have a lot of time to waste. So the big question for me now is like, what's the big trade coming? We all know there's going to be a big trade this offseason. Who are they going to trade? That's I like Caissie because he's a left-handed bat, and you don't have a lot of them. They
need power.
We kind of bickered at each other after the show yesterday when you were talking about
I don't even remember it.
About trading someone so you can fit Pete Alonso on the roster or whatever. And I think you were talking about Michael Busch, or maybe it was Seiya Suzuki, whatever.
I said, would you rather have Busch or, if there was no money involved, would you rather have Busch or Alonso?
I'm talking about next year, right?
Next year
specifically.
Right. Either way, that's what we were talking about.
I think that's what you're fighting about, but I don't remember.
You guys need to hug it out?
No, we don't need to hug it out because I'm not going to die on a hill with that dumb conversation. The point I'm getting at here is that you don't have a lot of left-handed bats, so I feel like there's a spot for Caissie if he comes into spring training, performs, looks healthy, obviously, and really earns a spot. And I can say the exact same thing about Matt Shaw. They can be really nice spots on your bench going to opening day. And if, like we saw last year, injuries happen, that opens a spot for some better talent than what we've seen on the bench. That's why I said yesterday that, like, I don't know how Patrick Wisdom makes it to opening day or even to the end of the year. Like, I feel like he's going to be non-tendered tomorrow or at the end of the week, whenever that day is, Ryan. Like, to me, like, Caissie could perhaps maybe take that Patrick Wisdom role to start the year. As much as I would like to see him get consistent every day at bats, it's just where we're at.
I don't know if this is considered breaking news, but the chat is saying that the Cubs, according to Jeff Passan, the Cubs are acquiring right-handed reliever Eli Morgan in a trade with the Guardians.
Oh, shit.
Indeed. Breaking news, sponsored by Indeed here on the CHGO Cubs podcast. Morgan was 3-0 with a 1.93 ERA last year, 3.23 career ERA in 173. The question will be, okay, fine. We know they need reliever depth. They need new arms. What did they give up? So I'll be interested to see that. Now, my question was going to be about Owen Caissie.
Mm-hmm.
This would be another poll you could put out, and I'm curious what everybody's answer is. Next year, Owen Caissie will spend the majority of his time, A, with the Cubs, B, in Iowa, C, with another organization.
That's a good question.
You need to place $100.
You put it in gambling terms for me?
Yeah. You need to place $100 right now on where Owen Caissie will spend the majority of his time next season. Where's it going to be? Another organization, Iowa, or with the big league team?
Like I said, I think that the fact that he's a left-handed bat is what the Cubs value the most here, considering all the right-handed bats they have.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to your question. The chat is also saying that Patrick Wisdom has been DFA'd. I have not gotten that information and not sure where.
Is that from Jesse Rogers, maybe?
Check our emails.
Yes, Jesse Rogers did just tweet.
Let's go.
Shout out Indeed.
What was your favorite
Patrick
part
Wisdom
of the...
Indeed, shout out Indeed, breaking news.
Shout out Indeed, thank you. What was your favorite part of the Patrick Wisdom era?
The interview we did with him after he hit like 11 home runs in April or whatever.
Ryan did an interview with him at spring training.
That was good.
Too. I did one there.
The hair.
Listen, Patrick Wisdom is a super nice guy, and he had potential, and he did give the Cubs something that they don't have, power. But he was part of a stretch in Cubs baseball history that is so forgettable that he probably will get lumped in with that group. He wasn't. Listen, could I see Brennan Davis being the next Patrick Wisdom on another team? I absolutely could. Like where he has some brief moments where you're like, oh, this is the guy. This is why he was their top prospect at one time. Those guys go around. I wish him luck. I think on a good team, Patrick Wisdom has a spot. Right? He's got some versatility in the field. He's not a great fielder, but he has huge power, lots of strikeouts.
I mean, he has power that not a lot of guys in this league have.
Correct.
And it's not.
He'll land somewhere.
Not maybe consistent enough, and not maybe versatile enough. Like obviously, someone like I mean versatile as far as like you knew who he could hit well against, you knew who he couldn't. Kyle Schwarber has awesome power against a lot of different types of pitchers. Patrick Wisdom, you knew the spots that you should use him in by the end of that. But by this year, you knew like when he was going to go in. You knew that they were putting him in to try to hit a home run. Like you knew who he was as a hitter, but he did have power that not a lot of guys have in this league. You don't see a lot in this league,
which the Cubs don't have.
Yeah,
so now they have less of it.
Yeah, and so he does have a role
if that's possible.
He does have a role as a major league player with that, and it's not a super usable role, but it is usable in the specific spots. And I actually think Craig Counsell did a good job of putting him in the right spots to succeed this year.
I would agree.
Just not a lot of success came from it. I mean, there was the Cardinals game that he hit. It should have hit.
Don't remind me.
It should have hit the building across the rooftop across the street.
We were in the bleachers, Luke.
We were there.
And it got
almost
caught in
sailed
left field.
over my head on a Friday.
I don't know
120.
how. But yeah, so Wisdom was projected by MLB Trade Rumors to get for the arbitration number to be at $3 million. Obviously, it seems the Cubs felt they could use those resources in a different way.
Well,
what if the Guardians really like Nick Madrigal?
I'm really intrigued to see what we're sending for this guy. But I'll say this. First reaction about Eli Morgan, it's a reliever. Thank you. Like they need bullpen help, right?
Yeah.
They need some serious, or when I say serious, they needed depth. Because it was always like the last few years, it's always felt like, oh, this guy got hurt. We are screwed, you know? So it's good to see them add a bullpen arm to the mix.
Depth with a resume.
Yeah.
Right? You're not just bringing in a flyer on some guy like this. He's pitched a lot in the big leagues and been successful.
And for anyone who always asks, what does Carter Hawkins do? I mean, he probably had something in this, considering he used to be in that organization. Not me trying to give Carter Hawkins credit. I'm just always asked, what does Carter Hawkins do? And so maybe this trade, he had something to do with it.
It looks like Eli Morgan doesn't strike out too many guys. He's a
contact guy, huh?
20.4% strikeout rate.
Welcome to the team.
Last year.
Sounds right.
But he does.
Sounds like a Cub.
He does limit walks as a reliever.
Well, that's good. That is good. You don't want your relievers.
It does kind of sound like a lot of the pitchers that they have.
Well, I mean, I feel like a lot of the relievers, like, there was a lot of traffic with the relievers last year. I mean, like, we talk about Hector Neris, and I felt like he was either giving up a hit or walking a guy every time he was out there, you know?
Boy, I want to find out who did they give up?
We send him, man.
What are you giving up for this?
Without knowing who it is and without finding out yet, my guess is prospects.
Yeah, but like
because you also had because
how
the
high
DFA,
up do the prospects go?
Yeah,
for a reliever that doesn't. It's not like it's not Devin Williams. You're not getting a lockdown close or something. You're getting a reliever.
Yeah, I mean he gives up a lot of soft. He doesn't get a lot of whiffs or strikeouts. He doesn't even give. Doesn't look like his ground ball rate was super high, but he does get a lot of soft contact. Misses a lot of barrels. Gets a lot of chase. So.
Sounds like a middle reliever. Again, depth. Like
Definitely
someone's got to take the Drew Smiley role.
It's the name I was just going to say.
Right?
Somehow you have to replace Smiley and Adbert.
Yeah.
This is a name.
Again, I don't expect them sending anything truly significant here, but they needed an arm.
If this was April 1st right now, I'd go, James Triantos and Kevin Alcantara. What?
Yeah. He did have a 25.1% strikeout rate in 23 and 28.1 in 2022. So it's gone down the last couple of years, but maybe the Cubs see something in being able to unlock a little bit more of the strikeout rate
to bring that back.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
we'll see.
The Guardians had one of the better bullpens in baseball last year, so the guy had success.
Yeah, Christian A said, I trust anyone from the Guardians bullpen.
Clase, just not late in the season after he's been used too much.
Yeah.
Sure.
He was great. We wanted him all year until Clase got to the postseason. It was like home run, home run, home run, home run. Hey, yeah, did you see the news? By the way, speaking of trades and free agencies, and somebody in the chat, I think it was maybe James, said this is your Juan Soto move right here.
Yeah, they made a big league move before the new year.
Juan Soto met with the Dodgers yesterday. I haven't heard of a meeting with the Cubs, however, Cody. Not that we have time for that. Right? But there is good news.
Have we reached the level where we can make jokes about it now?
Basically, it's all become laughable.
Is that what we've done now?
Yeah. Well, you missed 2 weeks. So
what if they traded?
Maybe not a joke to you yet, but
Gary thinks Christian Franklin maybe threw out the name Canario. Christian Franklin was the name that came up just recently.
Canario's a guy that I feel like
yesterday.
Like, where does he fit on this roster too? So who knows?
Could always get Jake Slaughter back.
As far as Soto meeting with the Dodgers, all I can say is that like I can't hate on the Dodgers for how they do things. I wish the Cubs did things exactly like the Dodgers. Every fan wishes their team did things exactly like the Dodgers. So I can't hate on the Dodgers for that. However, if Juan Soto signs with the Los Angeles Dodgers, I mean, why even play next season?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that, like, and this leads to a lot of fans who are like, we need a cap. No, we don't need a cap. We need a floor. There's too many teams out here not trying, not spending enough money. That's the thing. And I don't know, man. Like, does Soto want to go be I guess he'd be number 2 in Los Angeles. Maybe 3 because Mookie Betts is still great. But, I mean, no one's overshadowing Shohei Ohtani. So, I don't know, man. Anywhere but the Dodgers, man.
Yes.
That's all I can say is anywhere but the Dodgers.
Dodgers, Cardinals.
The Cardinals,
Brewers,
the Cardinals
aren't going to do it.
The Cardinals aren't going to do it, and Milwaukee isn't going to do it because they're going to be paying Braggs for all of his ACLs.
That's right. They can afford.
But yeah, it makes me want to throw up the idea of thinking about the Dodgers having Juan Soto with that lineup that they already have. So it would be a very Kevin Durant-like move.
Are you at least excited? I mean, I know that Eli Morgan should excite everybody, but are you at least excited that Pat Hughes and Ron Coomer are coming back? New deals, our Pat. That's our Pat. They've got Manager of the Year, Pat. We've got Hall of Famer, Pat.
What was Pat's first year? 96, I believe, right?
That sounds right.
In the 90s,
so it's going on, getting closer to 30 years with Pat Hughes as the voice of the Cubs.
It likely means another sweater day at the ballpark.
Well, this should
get
him through 30 years, correct? That was a 3-year extension for Pat Hughes?
I didn't see what the contract was. I just know he's back, which I think is good.
That should get him to 30 years with the Cubs. I think, depending on the length. I don't remember what the length was either. But
former Cub and All-Star Ron Coomer as well. Listen, there are very few things this organization does that I am happy about in recent years, but the one thing that is always for sure, and it is death, taxes, and Pat Hughes on Cubs radio. All right, like, of course he's gonna be here. Honestly, though, I've really loved him on TV, but they don't have anyone that could do radio better.
Yeah,
but I like him on Sundays on TV on Marquee with JD. I have enjoyed that. It's a nice little switch. So I'm just listen. I hope we must protect Pat Hughes at all costs. Right? He's a legend.
I think Corey Friedman would agree.
Yeah, he would.
Colstock says, want to be a baller shot caller? He forgot 20-inch blades on his Impala.
Yeah.
Big ball and smashing, making my ends.
Big ball.
Eli Morgan.
I like Godfather's comment.
What did he say? Pat Hughes can't
close games.
I mean, that's true. That's true.
one thing
there's little. I try to find some sort of like things that make me happy. Godfather. That's it. That's all.
He's a Hall of Famer. You got him for a few more years. Enjoy it. You may the next guy that does Cubs radio might not be as popular, and
beloved.
Think of all the. I mean, he went from Santo, and you would have thought maybe the broadcast would drop off, right? Ron Coomer coming back is popular too. But as Cody pointed out, it doesn't seem to matter if it's Ron Santo, if it's Ron Coomer, if it's JD. I think they're all good.
Ron Swanson.
But the common thing is Pat Hughes. He works well with a lot of people, which isn't always easy, especially as a play-by-play guy on the radio when you got to do a lot of talking, right? And over the last few years, it hasn't been very positive. Oh, look at this. Greg Bragg's coming in with Cubs gear today.
Huh.
Pat Hughes, new deal with the Cubs. Anyways.
According to
you got more on this deal?
Just like Sahadev tweeted it.
Okay,
The Athletic.
Here we go.
Didn't say who it was, but an A-ball player is the return.
An A-ball player.
Yeah. I don't know who. Maybe a lower-level arm that maybe people are higher on. He's just
some
younger.
guy that we're going to regret in like 5 years. They're like, remember when they traded for Eli Morgan? They traded this guy, and now he's a five-time All-Star.
Where's Barb? She'll be in here. This guy's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Gutting the franchise.
Gutting the system.
Trading all the good young players. Jackson Ferris is going to be a Cy Young, and then whoever this guy is going to be a Trevor Hoffman reliever of the year, or I guess the Mariano Rivera reliever of the year.
It's so funny how people are like, we got to make the team better, and then when they try to make the team better, we all hate all the moves. So,
they've added to the 40-man Eli Morgan, Ben Cowles, utility guy from the lighter trade with the Yankees, right?
Yep.
Yes. Yep. Is it Cowles or Cowles?
Cowles.
I always thought it was Cowles, but I could be wrong.
Cowles.
Call him Ben.
I'll look into that.
Big Ben.
Call him Benny.
Benny.
Shane Eubanks. Hopefully we didn't trade Tatis. No, that was the other team. The other team traded.
Yeah, I think he means like hopefully this person we just traded is not the next
turns
Tatis.
into the next Tatis.
And yes, William Workman. I'm aware. Ferris is actually good. I'm just we're just doing bits or Barb's bit for her while she's not here.
We will be back at 11:30 tomorrow. By the way. And I believe, unless something crazy happens,
like they sign, Roki
Lance Brozdowski's supposed to be here tomorrow. If everything goes well, Lance will be sitting in the chair. He's gonna. I want to ask him about the new company that the Cubs are working with, right? The spin company supposed to help with injuries.
Next case.
I really want to ask him about Roki. How much he's looked at Roki, and then.
Is me eating Japanese food manifesting what we all
Has
want?
It helped? Have you still been eating the Japanese food?
Yes, I had some ramen last night. Gonna eat ramen again tonight. No one commits to a bit like I do.
Drive out to Wilmette, Torino. Best ramen I've ever had.
Are those koala cookies? Is like the koala shaped with the pattern,
little chocolate inside.
Are those Japanese? Is that Japanese food?
I think they might be.
There you go. There's another option. Those are pretty good. Used to get them.
I've been living in the Oriental aisle.
You used to get them at the Elk Grove Tensuke Market back in the day.
There's a little Asian market down the street from me too.
What's the one in Arlington Heights? Masaka?
Mitsuya.
Yeah.
Mitsuya.
Never been in there, but it's a massive.
You know why? Because you don't really like food. That's a whole other podcast.
Good food at least.
Massive building. What do you mean? I just went to Chili's last weekend.
Put more ketchup on your hot dog.
Chili's. Every time you bring it up, Luke.
Brandon says Lance thinks Buehler may come to the Cubs. I'd be down for that. Hey, coming up, our next podcast that's live they're the Bears at 1, right?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Which I saw that Swift is injured.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's out for he's not practicing.
Not practicing.
Got to go pick up Roshan.
Yeah, there goes my fantasy team, and there go the Bears' chances this week against the Vikings. They'll be up at 1 o'clock. We're back at 11:30. Hopefully, Lance Brozdowski. Then on Friday, of course, Corey and Brennan will be here, and then we're back again next week to do it all over again. Don't forget that Die Hard card on the way out. Great gift that keeps on giving the whole year round. But until 11:30 tomorrow, we appreciate everybody in the live YouTube chat. Hit the like button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We appreciate all of you. See you tomorrow, and fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.